If I get the opportunity to meet Buhari, I'll demand Kanu's release. Tell him Nigerians are hungry. It's a 7-year-old Madam Ifedibo. Welcome to the news, and please subscribe to our channel to get notified when we drop hot juicy news updates. Please click on the notification bell. 87-year-old Madam Bridget Ifedibo from Ezudeke in Aba Oyi local government area of Anambra State speaks to Ikenna Obianeri about her childhood, marriage, and state of the nation. Well, I would want to hear what this woman would have to say. I'm not going to spill the bones. The news in detail, please stay with us. My name is Bridget Ifedibo. I am from Ezudeke in Aba in the Oyi local government area of Anambra State. Where were you born? She replied, I was born around 1935 in a place that is presently called Oba in Idemili, Anambra State. At the period when I was born, there was no functional hospital near my community. My mother told me that because the labor came too sudden, I was delivered at home with the help of the community women. Was the date of birth written down? She replied, no, but I got to know the day through my age mate, especially the ones whose parents were educated then. They wrote their birthday somewhere on the walls of their houses, and they grew up to see the date. I was born in the same month with them. The difference was only in days, so I got to know my date of birth through them. Who were your parents? She replied. My parents were farmers. They were both indigenous of Oyi local government area. My father was also a hunter, although he died very early. How many children did your parents have? She replied. They had 5 of us. I am the second child of the family and the only one still surviving. What was her childhood like? She replied, I had a good upbringing because my parents were very strict. I always went to the farm with my parents, and when I came back, I would be also busy weaving baskets or engaging in one activity or the other. With the kind of parents I had, there was no room for laziness. My parents did not pamper me. Did you start school early? She replied, my father did not have enough money to send me and my older brother to school at the same time. What he did was to enroll my elder brother in school first while I was made to wait. Unfortunately, my father died early and I could not start school early. You speak good English. How did you learn it? She replied, because of my love for education, I was always sneaking out of my father's farm to go to school where my elder brother was enrolled. The school was not too far from the farm. Each time I went, I would just stand by the door and be watching what they were doing. I paid attention to all the things they were being taught to the extent that when my brother and his friends came back and started analyzing what they learned in school, they would be surprised to see me participating and contributing to the discussion. And when my dad saw that I had great interest in school, he strived to enroll me, but unfortunately, his death terminated that ambition for me. How did you feel about that? She replied, I felt bad. Till that, it remained the saddest moment of my life. My older brother, who had the opportunity to go to school, later became an architect and a businessman. He is no more alive now, though. Much later, my first son enrolled me at one of the adult literacy classes in town, where I got exposed to reading and writing. I will say reading also helped me. I read a lot of newspapers, magazines, and inspirational books. At what point did you start your own family? She replied, I got married when I was 19 years old and I have 3 children. Why did you stop at 3 children, when at that period people went as far as having up to 8 children and even more? She replied, my husband died early and that put a stop to childbearing from me. Why did you not remarry? She replied, I loved my husband so much and shared very dear memories with him that when he passed on, I almost went into depression. But somehow I was able to come out of it and decided I was not going to remarry, even though I had a lot of suitors who came my way. And how did you cope all these years with being alone, even during the cold weather? I got your point. I totally locked up, and with determination I was able to scale through. I simply concentrated my efforts on the upbringing of my children. Do you think today's ladies can do what you have done? She replied, I don't think so. The women now are not like us. We were very patient and totally submissive to our husbands. There was real love during our time that you hardly hear of divorce cases. In fact, divorce was like a taboo during our time. You dared not mention it at all. But now a lot of things have changed, and this is due to the sophistication and changes in lifestyle. Divorce cases are rampant now, and this generation does not see it as any big deal. How did you meet your husband? She replied, in those days it was either the mothers or the fathers that match-made the children. It was his mother that approached me and said she would like me to marry her son. She must have seen something she liked about me that warranted that. And when I finally met my husband, his gentle and soft nature got me attracted to him. Although we came from the same community, I did not get to know him until the mother introduced him to me. How old are your children now? She replied, my first son is almost a grandfather now. I gave birth to him very early before my two daughters, who are now above 50 years. What will you consider as the highlights of your journey in life over the last 80 years? She replied, I will say my contentment, doggedness and determination to succeed. I dared a lot of things while growing up. I even ventured into activities that were exclusively reserved for the boys without minding the consequences. Even on many occasions that my mother could not pay the school fees of my senior brother, I went as far as doing some odd jobs then to earn money and gave my mother to pay my elder brother's school fees. Even without a formal education due to no fault of mine, I still ensured I acquired knowledge through personal efforts and training. I made a lot of effort to ensure I was able to read and write, and this exposed me to a lot of things in life that ordinarily I would not have if I did not make the effort. If you had had a formal education early, what would you have loved to become? She replied, I'd have loved to become a teacher because I love to transfer knowledge. Though there may not be money in the teaching profession, following my senior brother to classes and seeing the way the teachers were doing it in those days really endeared me to that profession. What occupation did you settle for? She replied, I was a yam farmer. I inherited farming from my father. I acquired a lot of lands on rented basis and I used it to farm yams. That was what I engaged in, which I used in giving my children and some of my siblings quality education. I engaged in yam farming because then it had huge commercial value. I sold the items in various markets in Onitsha, Asaba, Warri, and even Sapele. Traveling to those places also helped me to learn to speak good English to an extent. Farming in those days was fun to us, and we enjoyed doing it. Did you get land inherited from your father? She replied, no, I did not inherit land from my father. In those days, women are not entitled to inherit land where I came from. Land matters were exclusively preserved of the male children. What I did was to use the land my brother inherited from my father to farm, and I began to expand. I started acquiring lands on lease for farming. What was Nigeria like when you were growing up? Nigeria was far better than what it is now. Then you could afford to plan with the resources you had and be able to execute your plan easily. Security of lives and property was not an issue. You could afford to work on your farm till night and even decide to sleep there without any fear of being attacked or kidnapped. Everything was the way it should be. There was nothing like mistrust among the ethnic groups in the country. Everybody trusted one another to the extent that you could afford to leave your son or daughter in the care of a neighbor, travel, and still come back without an affair of kidnap, rape, or ritual killing. Sincerely, I wish we could go back in time, sincerely. Even though people are saying I wish we should be forward. But with what I'm hearing from this woman, I'm saying we need to go back in time to pick up our moral and our values. Okay, on this note, we've come to the end of the news. We say thank you for tuning in to listen. Until I come your way next time, enjoy the rest of your day.